All right. Sterling, A through Z. Oh, wait. That's right.
Gotcha.
Yep. Joke's on you, to the fans. Unfortunately, Sterling, due to work obligations, etc., will not be on this one today. So there isn't really going to be a news section. There isn't really going to be A through Z today. But Heather and I did want to talk about just kind of some of the top box office movies of 2025 thus far. We thought it might be fun to just kind of look at what's trending at the movies and what do we think that means? Does it mean anything? And how we see maybe things shaping out when some of the bigger summer movies are coming out later this year. So,
Yeah. I'm curious about this list.
So, this information is coming from Box Office Mojo, which is pretty much becoming my go to place when I want to find out box offices. It's just so quick and easy, and they've got it broke down by worldwide, domestic, everything like that.
Are they the ones that do
conversation?
They're the ones that do those YouTube videos, right? Or no? The Box Office Mojo. Maybe I'm thinking of a different thing. Something called Mojo.
I think that's something else.
Okay.
I know Watch Mojo.
Yes. Okay, that's what it is. Because I know sometimes they do videos where it's like the top performances. So I thought maybe it was the same thing, but okay.
I love them, but
yeah,
this is a bit different. So for this conversation and just to kind of make it easy, all I did was pulled up just for right now the 2025 worldwide box office numbers. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So of course, some of these movies have just come out or they've only been out a few weeks. And then you've got movies on here that have, had a run and come and gone from the movie theater. So I just kind of wanted to look at the top 10 and just see what that means to us. So I guess I'll start with the bottom and just move up to the top. So at number 10, we have Dog Man with 145. I'm not going to give the exact number. I'll just say 145 million worldwide box office. So the number 10 movie is at 145, which seems low.
Yeah. Also, what is Dog Man? I don't even think I've heard of
that. Good question. I was about to ask you.
No, that does not sound familiar.
The animated movie with the dog cop.
Oh, that.
Yes.
I completely forgot that was a thing. Okay.
I did too.
That's number 10?
Yep, that's number 10. At 145 million. So Dog Man.
The bar is not high yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. Like, I just would not have thought that a movie that grossing that, because that seems like a pretty low gross, 145 million. But for that to be number 10 is very telling. So this whole thing about box office movies kind of like the total sliding off and less people going to the movies and stuff like that feels like a real thing if something at 145 can be at the top 10.
Right. I mean, I guess it is like a kid's movie, right? Or like a family friendly film. So that might be contributing to that, but still 145 is not, it's not amazing.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, the Dog Man the previews I saw of it looked kind of funny. And, I remember seeing it preview a lot and it didn't look like a bad film,
Yeah.
I think it was like reviewed reasonably well.
Yeah.
So moving on at number 9, Snow White.
Okay. I'm actually curious how many of these we've done episodes on. So, okay.
I know. Yeah. That'll be interesting to look at.
Oh, good old
but
Snow White.
Snow White is at 200, right at just about 205 million worldwide box office, which for Disney, that's disappointing,
Yeah.
That's
Snow White being on this list makes me sad anyway. But
yeah,
that's a different story.
Yeah, and then for just how bad it was,
right?
For it to still be in the top 10 also kind of says something about Disney. Like, even when the movie is not great, and even when the movie is making lower than what they projected, it's still Disney. It almost just kind of, that name brand means something. Even when they fail, they can fail and still be in the top 10. Like,
yeah,
which
sadly.
is kind of crazy. Number 8 was one that we were fans of, Final Destination Bloodlines.
Okay. I like to see
right
that
now it's at 258 million, which is good, for an R-rated horror movie.
Yeah, that is true. I didn't think about that. I mean, and I know I'm sure that was highly anticipated because of just people who love that franchise, or just the fact that there's so many other ones in it. And this one actually seemed like it was going to level up, and it did. So I'm glad that it's like really doing well. But because I'm trying to remember when was the last Final Destination movie? I mean, it was early 2010s, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So it's been easily 10 years or so. I want to look that up real quick. Hold on. This one was 6, I think, right? So Final Destination 5. That was 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a minute. So good for them.
Yeah. Really good for them, considering that gap of time, and especially with this making as much as it did, and then it was reviewed well. We reviewed it well also. People were really liking it and thought that it was just such a vast improvement over story-wise over what they did before. So this has all the makings of, we're most likely going to get another one. Perhaps they have found a formula that's going to work for your audience nowadays. So yeah, nothing but good signs for that movie.
You got to get on board with that
7.
franchise, though. Like, you got to get more excited for it now that you've seen what they can do.
Yeah. Now that oh man, we can get movies like this. So, the next one's definitely going to have some hype around it.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're going to do, though. I wonder, how do you top this one?
I know.
What can you do creatively?
I mean, should they end on the high note? But at the same time, like, if they ever say we're doing another one, I'm already in for it, because it's kind of like what you said in the episode. It's like the gimmick gets you every time. It's the same one, but it is effective. So yeah.
Yep. It's super effective. So I don't know, maybe bring back some, I don't know. I don't know what you do.
Bring back the one girl who actually survived. Like, that would have been a nice little, like, have her in there somewhere. Maybe not as a main, but something,
Yeah. Maybe add some more star power to it. You could always, maybe there's some actor or actress, or several of them, that might be willing to do it. You know what? Is this a stupid idea or not? But what if you did a Final Destination with a bunch of celebrities playing themselves? Like, what if it was a Final Destination, but Brad Pitt was Brad Pitt, and Ryan Gosling was Ryan Gosling, and Scarlett Johansson was Scarlett Johansson? It was about like them in a actual celebrities in a Final Destination scenario.
That would be interesting. But it's not a satire, right? It's actually supposed to be them as themselves, not like a satire of themselves. Or would it be better if it's like a satire version of them being them? You know what I mean?
I like the satire idea.
I do actually like that,
then it might be funnier.
Fun.
It might be,
Yeah, I think that would kind of be fun, because you also think about like, maybe the opening thing can be like, it's an award ceremony or something. And that's like, you know what I mean? Like the Oscars or something like that, or a film festival. And that's where all the craziness goes down. And Brad Pitt has the vision, or somebody has the vision That would be interesting. And I feel like that would get people on board because they would want to be like, oh, if my favorite celebrity's in this, I want to know if they're going to survive this. Like, you know what I mean? That would be kind of fun.
Who's going to survive and who's going to die. And
yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah. Like, I think that might be interesting. Like, just imagine that now you'd be paying a lot of money depending on who you want to cast for this. Or I don't know. Maybe if the script was read and the actors saw how fun it was, maybe they would all make it work, you know? But could you imagine like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt like running in some scenario and all this stuff's blowing up and Tom Cruise is doing his stunt stuff? Or Keanu Reeves or something like that. Could you imagine all of them in a Final Destination scenario? Denzel, Michael B. Jordan, like imagine the cast you could have.
That would be so fun. And I got to say it just because like it would be epic. Actually have Devin Sawa in that, you know, even if he's not like part of what's happening, like going to him, you know, and like some kind of like, I know you were in the movie of this, but tell us how we survived this or something. Like it would be kind of fun if he was involved too. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I like this idea. Let's pitch it.
We may have thought of just the greatest idea ever, Heather.
Right?
We might have just been on here for another Final Destination. So, moving on, are some movies that we're a fan of. So, number 7 is also another R-rated movie, Sinners. 357 million is where it's at so far worldwide. So, sitting at number 7, which is great.
I love that. I still want it to be higher because I love it so much, but I get why it's only at 7. I'm good with it. That's great.
Yeah, and still to be an R-rated movie and to be that high, I think out of your R-rated movies, it's definitely the top. Like, it's definitely the best R-rated movie to come out this year. And being that it's a highest grossing movie, like, I'm really kind of wondering how this is going to be treated come Oscar time. Because I feel like
if it's overlooked, I'm so mad.
With like the critical reception, some of the acting in the film, it's weird to say this about a vampire movie, but this has all the makings of something that could sneak in as like a dark horse. Nobody saw it coming, but it was so good. Everybody liked it kind of movie that gets. But I wonder with Coogler making that deal, and kind of how, I guess, polarizing that was to people, to Hollywood and stuff like that. I wonder if that affects things in any way, but I don't know. Or is most of Hollywood applauding him going, wow, that's great? You know, I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah. I mean, and I saw something on social media where it's essentially like it's the 6th highest grossing horror film ever at this point, which is so cool. I love that for them because it's like, and then speaking of lists, really quick to go through that one, it's just the top 8. Number 8 is Hannibal. 7 is Alien Romulus.
Oh, that's cool.
Love that. 6 is Sinners. 5, unfortunately, is The Nun.
Oh gosh. Wow.
Why? But anyway, number 4 is The Exorcist. Why is The Nun that close to Exorcist in any way? I hate it. I know,
I hate that.
Number 3 is It Chapter 2. Number 2 is Jaws. And number 1 is It. So I don't hate this list for the most part. Yeah, that's good company to be in, honestly.
It is. Yeah. It is. So, you know, you just wonder if maybe Sinners might break some new ground. Could we be on the verge of a vampire movie winning Best Picture?
Right.
I mean, it could happen.
If this movie is overlooked for whatever reason, or like, because you know how sometimes it's like they put out the movies that are going to be, you know, Oscar bait closer to Oscar time. So I'm going to be really sad if this is overlooked, because I kind of feel like My most recent example of that is The Iron Claw, because of when it came out. I feel like it didn't really get any award love, but at the same time, I'm more fine with that now, knowing more of what we know about that story. But at the time, I was like, these are great performances, though, regardless of anything else. The performances were awesome, but it just, I feel like because of when it came out, like it got forgotten, but at the same time, they know what they're doing. Like we've seen it before where they do movies that were, this was beginning of the year, but we're still keeping it on our list. So if this is overlooked, it's going to be, I feel like people will riot and people will call the Academy all kinds of names, saying they're prejudiced, which would be true probably, because I don't see why you don't put it there. Like I see no reason why you wouldn't at that point. You know what I mean? Like you're telling me that like nobody in that whatever Oscar, what is it called? Like the Academy, like whatever, the people that are in charge of that. You're telling me none of them saw this movie and thought like this is pure cinema above anything else we put out? Like it would be weird. So we'll see what happens.
No, I get some of what you're saying. Like, if the Oscar list comes out and it's not at least nominated for a few things, then it's a travesty. Now, if it gets nominated and doesn't win, at least you can be like, well, I was rooting for it, but it didn't quite win. But hey, it was great to see it there. It was great to see it honored as one of the best movies of the year. But if they leave it out, you're right. It would feel like something nefarious is happening. I mean, I know that this is only, we're only halfway through the year, but it's hard to imagine so many movies better than it coming out to where it gets no recognition at the Oscars. Then you're right. It does feel, if that were to happen, like just a complete snub of nominations and everything. And I guess the Golden Globes might tell us a little bit too prior to the Oscars. But like that might be one of the biggest snubs like in history. Like if it just got completely ignored, no nominations, no recognition, that's I would totally get if people were like, nah, this is prejudice or there's definitely a bias. Yeah. How could you not feel that way?
Yeah. And I know that I feel sure that a lot of filmmakers strategize when they want their movie to release based off of award season. I don't know fully how it works, obviously, but I also feel like I could also see it if Ryan Coogler is like, we're not going to play that game. We're releasing a good movie because it's a good movie. And I don't actually care if it gets any sort of acclamations or anything like that because he just made a good movie. I could see that being his mindset as well, where he's like, release it when we're ready. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it could be that situation too, where he's like, I don't need the Oscars to tell me my movie is cinema. You know what I mean?
True.
But also, again, like there are instances when, like, I think Dune 2 came out early last year or the year that it was nominated. You know what I mean? So it's like, it happens, but also Dune and Sinners are very different things. So again, we'll see if this is actually going to matter in the long run. And it could just be more recency bias of what we've seen at the Oscars lately and how I feel about it. Because, I mean, yeah, there's examples where that's still early on in the year movies still get recognized, but at the same time, not as often. They get overlooked because of recency bias of when they come out. Yeah.
No, I get that.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But like our fingers are crossed for it. Obviously, we're going to be rooting for it, but God, you would expect. And I know when Ryan Coogler, I get that. He wouldn't be the kind of guy that goes, that's not what I do this for. You're right. I could totally see him taking that stance. But damn, man, sometimes you just want the good ones to be recognized as the good ones. Sometimes you just want the best ones to get the recognition of being the best,
And granted, I haven't seen Emilia Perez still, but if that controversial, like, as far as how well people liked it, if that movie, as controversial as it was, got some crazy like award love, this movie better get something, because this across the board is a like unanimously amazing film.
Amen to that. So, number 6, Thunderbolts. So, here's Marvel still
I get
kicking.
that. Yeah.
Still making the top 10. And I mean, you know, we had an episode on Thunderbolts. If you know, if I mean, I imagine by the time this recording comes out, that one will be available. So definitely
True.
check that out.
I mean, and I feel like we also like not too long ago mentioned that it's still like was Marvel's like third lowest grossing film. For it to still be number 7 on this list and still be third lowest of all Marvel films is kind of saying something.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And it sits at about 377 million.
Okay.
So almost got to, you know, was trying to crack that 4, but we didn't, not quite there. But I mean, but considering, and I think the one thing I'll look at with this movie is that not only was it good, not only could you tell there it was done with a little more execution and ambition and things like that, but this is a movie where you didn't have some of your big MCU people in it. So
good point. Yep.
So I think with it having that kind of a start and landing on the top 10 of movies of 2025 thus far, to me, it shows good potential for that. You know, obviously this shows that people did like these characters, and maybe we'll see people with just what it was able to make. Maybe people will invest in them further, and who knows what a second one might do. But to your point, it being like the third lowest film of Marvel, it almost just kind of shows how successful Marvel has been, and then what the downward trend has been, I guess, also with some of these Marvel superhero movies. But speaking of Marvel superheroes, the 5th highest grossing movie is Captain America Brave New World, which is interesting because like people were nowhere near as high on that as they were Thunderbolts. Yet it's sitting with 415 million. So
yeah. I mean, and that one, you know, people who watched the show loved that probably. And there were still at least a few original like people from Marvel in it, or more well-known superheroes in that one. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why, but yeah.
Yeah. And the Red Hulk, maybe people were curious about that, you know, from on the comic side. So, and like you said, more familiar faces that your Marvel fans are already invested in. And the Captain America name does carry some
weight,
clout and success and some weight. Yeah. So maybe some of those. And then I think it came out like that 3-day weekend in February, the President's Day weekend or something like that. So who knows? Maybe the holiday weekend, I mean, sometimes, what do they say? Sometimes timing is everything. Maybe the difference between it and Thunderbolts is the holiday weekend. I mean, that's not too far. 377 to 415 is not that's not a big gap. So, you know, so maybe that is kind of the difference there. But it also says something too about, for all the talk about superhero fatigue and all of that stuff, you have 2 that are sitting on the top 10 of 2025. And we could have more of them because Superman and Fantastic Four are coming out.
That's true.
So we could have 4 superhero movies potentially be top 10 grossing movies of 2025. So maybe the superheroes aren't going away quite yet.
Right.
But we'll see. So just kind of interesting there. Number 4, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
Makes
which,
sense.
Yep, we all pretty much like, and people follow those movies, and so it's good to see it there. Typically Mission Impossible has been one of those summer movies that it has been kind of one of those movies in the summer lineup for the past few years.
Yeah.
So it's good to see it there. It feels like it belongs there, sitting right at 451 million. So not too bad. Third is Lilo and Stitch, which I think has been out for just a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Or did it come out last week?
I think it was a few weeks ago.
Okay, so it's been out for a couple of weeks. But the gap is interesting. So Mission Impossible is sitting at 451. Lilo and Stitch is at 775 million.
What?
Which is a huge gap between it and the number 4 Mission Impossible. So wow.
It came out May 23rd, FYI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, that's a surprise because I just didn't know. I mean, I know it's a well-loved original. The original was well-loved. And I guess, yeah, it's a kid's film, family film. Like, that's fair. I'm just a little surprised by that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, especially doing that much more than Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The fact that it just shot up ahead of it like that. And I want to say, didn't they come out at the same time? Did Mission Impossible and Lilo come out at the same time?
They might have. Let me check that. If not, it was like maybe a week difference. Let me see. When did you come out, Mission Impossible? Let me see. We'll find out. Please hold. And this was Final Reckoning. It came out. Yeah, same weekend, May 23rd.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 2 movies came out the same weekend, and they're both already 3 and 4 on the 2025 highest grossing of all time. So man, people were really, so that goes to show you, like, that weekend, people were really watching movies. I mean, those 2 movies made stupid money.
Yeah.
But Lilo and Stitch, that's definitely a leg up for Disney. So see, like, it's so funny because you watch Snow White and you're like, oh my gosh, they need to stop rebooting these movies. And then Lilo and Stitch comes out and makes $775 million. And all you can think is, well, I guess they're going to keep making these movies.
I wonder how much they're up, Lilo and Stitch. You know what I mean? But, or how much profit they turn. Also, I mean, I guess you could say that weekend of Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch was probably technically considered the first, like, summer blockbuster weekend, maybe it was before that, but I feel like that's around the time when the summer blockbuster stuff starts up because people love the summer movie experience like that, you know?
True. So yeah, and that's a good point. So you could be looking at even more movies, maybe making bank like that. You're right, because some of the movies lower on the list they weren't your summer movies.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So like, you know, that you know, like Captain Brave New World was like winter. You know. So yeah, Thunderbolts I guess would be more spring. So yeah, maybe we're gonna see more of that. But yeah, Lilo and Stitch number 3. Number 2, a Minecraft movie, which we all loved, right? I can't quite remember what we said about it.
It slips my mind. Not surprised, but don't love it.
Yeah, $951 million.
Wow.
Minecraft almost made $1 billion.
That's worldwide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worldwide gross. Domestic 423, and then foreign 527. So for a Minecraft movie, and this was a movie that, I mean, we reviewed it. It was not good. It was just so crazy and dumb. And you felt like it was just a movie that had the video game name to it. And if a video game movie can make this kind of money, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a good one, it could just be like, that's just crazy. But I think it also shows that we might be on the verge of video games becoming some of the new It movies, because
the new superhero thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Will video game movies become the new superhero movies? Because, you know, you look at last year, Mario made $1 billion. And now here you have Minecraft on the verge of $1 billion. The Sonic movies are doing well, made really good money, and everything like that towards the end of last year. So like they're starting to emerge, and they're starting to announce more of them, you know, like The Legend of Zelda. But you still have some duds, like we reviewed Until Dawn, and, you know, so obviously they're not all hits, but we are starting to see more of them, and more of them are starting to be successful. So
yeah, it'll be our new fatigue.
On the verge of something.
Yeah.
But obviously, we will see about that. And then to round it all off, the final movie, the number one movie of the 2025 worldwide box office, is not a American film. It's a foreign film, a Chinese film called Neza Part 2, Nezha. So hopefully, I don't know, or it might be Nizha. I mean, it might be something more like that, being that it's Chinese, but it's an animated Chinese movie. And the worldwide gross is 1.899 billion. So almost,
that's crazy,
$2 billion. I mean, there's nothing even close to that. I mean, it's almost lapped Minecraft movie $1 billion, which is insanity. And I know that obviously China's well populated, so that has something to do with it. But for it to make almost $2 billion, that's almost like every person in China saw it, or maybe saw it several times. I mean, that's crazy. That is just crazy numbers.
And you said it's Nezha 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it looks like it came out in February.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So it's been out a while.
Okay, interesting.
But still.
Wow.
Yeah,
96% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's not fresh. But the popcorn, like the popcorn meter for the audience is 99%. So it's apparently super good. Almost 2.5 hours. Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Never even heard of that.
I wish we could say more about it, but still very telling that this animated movie, man, I'm almost like, the Cinema Slayers need to watch these movies and comment on them? I don't know. Who knows? That might be a conversation that we have with Sterling. I mean, I don't even know where you would, if they're even available.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting that this Chinese animated movie is just beloved over there. And it is carrying the 2025 box office.
Right.
So
that's wild.
Very, very interesting.
Also, yeah, that difference in like the top movie and even Minecraft, right, is number 2. Man. That's wild.
Crazy, crazy stuff. So yeah, it's very interesting. But like you said, the most telling thing seemed to be the gap with the summer movies.
Yeah.
You know, those the two kind of some of the first summer movies, Mission Impossible, Lilo and Stitch, making so much more money than any of the other seasonal movies that are on the top 10. And then you have Minecraft, which was about in that summer range. They just all made crazy amounts of more money. So this could be a big summer, even though, movies had been trending down. I mean, you've got to think that people are going to come see Superman, Fantastic Four, that Jurassic Park.
Yeah, those are going to be big, I think. Those will probably, I feel like those are going to knock some of these down, but rightfully so if they do. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man.
So who knows? Maybe we could be on the verge of one of those, super big summer movies. So, How to Train Your Dragon would have to be in that list, too. That's going to be an anticipated release.
And see, I'm curious about that because yes, it's live action version of something we've gotten not too long ago, but people loved those. So you never know, right? Like, didn't the Lion King live action do really well and nobody liked it? So maybe this will be different. I don't know. Also, that Ninja 2 is on Amazon Prime.
Oh, is it?
So maybe a conversation we'll have.
Yeah. Okay. We might have to check those out and see what all the fuss is about, what the $2 billion fuss is about.
Right.
But anyway, that just about rounds it out for this. That wound up being a very interesting conversation. Anything else to add?
No, I mean, it's interesting because some of these were a surprise as far as how they were on the list, but there were a lot of them up there that I'm glad they're on the top 10 for sure. And who knows, maybe this list will change. Maybe in the next few weeks, some of those will even get more money. Who knows? So, I'm curious to see, because like you said, it's halfway through the year. So we've got a lot of big movies that are about to come out that could change everything with this list. But I do like the placement of some of these on here. Some of them I don't like.
Yeah. All right. So that about wraps it up for this discussion about box office grosses for 2025. Anything else to add to it, Heather?
No, that's really good insight. It's cool to learn that list. So yeah, that was it for me.
Awesome. See, Sterling, we had some news after all. We had some, we had you covered, man. We did this news section with flying colors.
Look at us growing.
I know, exactly.
I know you're over there proud of us.
Yep, he better be. All right. With that being said, hit that music.
Somebody will listen to me.
Nobody knows anything but you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, what's up? It is your host with not the most, your resident wrestler, yes, sir, also known as the living proof, Jastin Taylor. I'm going to be the host because Sterling is not here tonight, like we already said. But I do have the first lady of Cinema Slayers, Heather.
That's right. What's up?
And tonight we are going to talk about everything that we like, didn't like, and everything in between when it comes to Ballerina, the newest movie in the John Wick universe, the Wickiverse.
I like that. Wickiverse.
Yeah. I guess it's a universe now. Everything's a universe now. So
Pretty much.
Why not the John Wick franchise?
At least it's
So,
a
of
worthy
course,
franchise.
Yeah, definitely a worthy one. If anyone's going to deserves to be a universe, it's John Wick, because we love these movies. But how did they do with this one? You know, a different actor as the lead and a different kind of story. So what happened here? So with that being said, we'll get into our spoiler-free section. We'll talk a little bit about just some impressions that we had spoiler-free. And then we will move over to recommendations and scores. And then eventually we will go to a spoiler section where we're just going to break the movie down and specific events and talk about what we liked and didn't like. So without further ado, Heather, what are some spoiler-free thoughts about this here Ballerina?
Yeah, so I was hesitant about this one just because the John Wick movies are so excellent, and it's like I don't want anything to tarnish that. Although I heard that the continental show is not great, but we'll just kind of leave that out of this world then. But as far as the movies go, the movies, they're all so good. Like, you could pick any John Wick movie as like your favorite John Wick movie and it makes sense. Like, there is no bad John Wick movie. So I was nervous about this because sure, it's in the same world and all that stuff. And, you know, you see from the trailers, certain people make appearances and things like that. But I was hesitant, you know, and I like Ana de Armas. I do. I don't always necessarily like the movies that she chooses to do, but I do like her. I think she is a talented actress. And I'm actually glad that she was the lead in this, because I do think she brought something really solid to this role. I think this is probably my second favorite role of hers. Knives Out will always be the first, but this one is really, she did a good job as the lead in this film. So it was nice to see her sort of do something where, you know, we've talked about those actors before where they're talented, but they do not choose good projects. And I feel like a lot of hers, unfortunately, had been going that way. So, but I mean, to be fair, I don't remember if she's Oscar nominated, but she's at least Golden Globe nominated for a movie that was not good, but that's okay, because whatever. But yeah, I do think she brought something really good to this role. She has like an earnestness and like I guess like a profoundness in her that you see in this. It hits a lot of the same beats as like the John Wick movies do, of, you know, a tragedy, revenge path, really just pushing yourself and making yourself a stronger person physically and mentally, because you're just, you know, you're ready to be like on that path of revenge, basically is what this is. The beats are the same. The type of story is the same, but it is still different. Of course, it's still a very different reason and motive. It's a different background and setup for this character, but you are in this John Wick world, which is cool because it did feel like John Wick's world. It really did have the same vibe. The way it's shot, it feels very similar. You do feel like you're still in that universe of John Wick. So I appreciated how they did the cinematography, even like the vibrant colors that you get, really just some cool shots that they do. Like, they really do have some awesome, just, cinematography throughout, and colors and vibrancy in this. So I like that they kind of stuck to the status quo of John Wick movies with that, because that's always been a fun thing about the John Wick movies too. So yeah, I liked that a lot. I think that there were some really good action sequences and choreography going on here. I don't remember if it's the same stunt person or choreographer person that did this one as the John Wick ones. Do you remember? I'm sure we could find out, but
I don't.
Yeah, because I mean, it feels like top tier level of action choreography. So I do think that it was well done. there's just a lot of epic moments in the John Wick films that you're just like, remember that scene when he did that thing? And this might not quite have as much of that, but as a full sequence of action scenes, there's a lot of really good ones in this. They're pretty solid. There's one that I think stands out more than the others, but at the same time, like, I also just like that this follows that same concept of they want you to lean into the action of this story. There is a good underlying story and plot to this, but so much of this isn't just like exposition and dialogue and things like that. You get what you need as far as the dialogue goes, but you get more action than anything else. And that's how the John Wick movies are as well. So I like that setup. I like that they stuck to that pattern because that helps you to feel like you're still in this universe. And yeah, they did good with that. Is it amazing? It's not. For me, it's not. And I don't know if that's just because, we have a different director, or if we have just the fact that it's not John Wick's story, maybe in general, because they just kind of set themselves up for failure to do any other character in this universe that would be better than John Wick, because he's such a great character. But if you're going to not be John Wick, they did a solid job making a new lead person in this. I don't love it just because there's nothing super standout in this. Even the action sequences that are really good, nothing is super standout. And I do think it'll still be overshadowed by literally any other John Wick film would probably overshadow this immediately. Like if you're choosing this or, hey, movie night, what in the John Wick universe do we want to watch? It's probably not going to be this one first, but it's also a worthy entry into this universe too. I don't think it is a bad movie. I think it's good. I think it's pretty solid for sure. It's not, again, and it's so hard to compare. And I hate that because it's not John Wick's movie. So but it's so hard because it is that universe and so many elements from those movies you have to kind of know and play into here because it connects and it does connect it well. And I'll give it that. It has a good connection point of, how she's involved with this world. So I do think it's solid overall. I don't know. I think, and honestly, I like the fact that it wasn't an overly long film. It started in some places to maybe go on a little bit longer than I wanted, but not too much. It doesn't take me out of the movie, which is crazy to say because I think all of the John Wick movies are longer than this and you don't really feel it in those. But that's not to downplay. Like, I shouldn't say that because it downplays the fact that this is a really solid action film overall.
Yeah, I think that I can agree with a lot of the different things you said. Like, the movie did have a lot, I don't want to say a lot writing against it, but definitely this is a challenge and undertaking when you're saying, okay, look, we're going to do this. We're going to have this movie, but based on the John Wick universe, but there's going to be this other character that you don't really know, you're not really invested in. And John Wick is going to maybe make an appearance in it or make a cameo. You see him for a blink in the previews, but you don't really know what he's doing or why he's there. And when I saw it in the previews, I just thought maybe it was a little cameo. It wound up being a little more than that, which was a pleasant surprise. I think that might be one of the better things about it is where they position John Wick and how he is involved in the story. And but like you said, this is not a John Wick movie. So what about this other character? What about this ballerina character? This Ana de Armas performed character Eve. And I think overall, the acting performance, I agree, was good. They got you to invest in her. They told enough of her story. and we're interested enough and we're along for the ride, because in the John Wick movies, where when you go and you see Angelica Houston directing all of these ballerinas and stuff like that, and you see them dancing and trying to hit these steps, feet bleeding, and they're just putting their all into this, and she's just like, do it again, it sucked. Like, you do wonder, whenever John Wick visits this place in those other movies, you know, those characters are just kind of in the background, or they give you a shot of them. And every now and then you did wonder, well, I wonder what that world's like. These ballerina people training to be these assassins. You know, I wonder what that world is like. Well, if you were one of those people that sat through those movies and wondered about that a little bit, well, this answers some of those questions. Now we know a little bit about what some of that training is like, what some of those tests are like, what a woman who is being trained in that way is going through, and how similar it is to John Wick. The difference is, you know, you get to see some of that. So they took something that we didn't get much of and expanded on it a little bit. But like you said, never too much over exposition to where you feel like it's annoying or you're not interested in it anymore. Just enough, but still keeping some mystery to it. And that's kind of been, I think, one of the consistent things about the John Wick franchise, is giving you enough to follow along and invest, but never really giving you the whole thing. Never really leaving kind of this mystique of mysteriousness about this world where you've got all these assassins and there's this honor system and code and these people that come up in this whole world that is in the same world, but seems completely different from the other part of the world with just regular people and police and government and stuff like that. It's almost like there's this whole other world in John Wick that just sort of runs itself. So anytime you get little pieces of it, it's interesting. And they always give you enough to where it's like, you could see another movie being made to show some other side of this or something like that. So they do a good job of really giving you just enough, but not enough to where you don't want anymore. It always feels like there was more they could add that they chose not to. So that's just an interesting thing about this. And this movie, I think, follows in the footsteps of the other John Wick movies well enough in that regard. Like, the story is simple, with some simple parts. They made it a revenge plot, which is good. You know, that's what we're used to, a simple revenge plot. But the main thing I was nervous about and nervous for this movie was the action, because it's one thing to do a revenge tale. We've seen them. We know that movies, that cinema knows how to do those. We've seen many of them that have been successful. And we know that for the most part, if you get the right choreographers and stuff, action scenes might range from decent to passable.
Yeah.
But John Wick is not really a franchise that's about passable action scenes or like okay, get by type of action scenes. John Wick is like the Picasso of fight scenes. This is like the Mona Lisa of fight scenes. Like, these fight scenes are like top of the line, super memorable, thoughtful choreography, everything like that. They're excellent fight scenes. Some of the best fight scenes and action sequences we've seen in cinema. So, and a lot of that is because of the actor Keanu Reeves. He's well versed in these arts. He understands the stunt choreography. He understands guns. He understands all of these things to a T. Like, this is very much a part of his life. And that was why he so seamlessly was able to do such great action and coordinate with such great coordinators and other action movie icons, etc. So I think a big challenge here is, how will the action hold up without him? where you're focusing on another character that is not him, when you've got other stunt choreographers and people dealing with someone who is not him, who is not as well versed in that world and all of those kinds of things. So I think that was a big challenge for this movie. You're following some of the best movies to ever do it. So if you come in here with lackluster or passable action sequences, that's a recipe to just throw this away. Like, that's a recipe to just dismiss this entirely and go, oh, just another one of those cash grab follow-ups. But I will say, I agree with you, Heather. The action scenes are not as inventive or creative or memorable as the John Wick scenes, but they are good. Like, there's no doubt that they tried with this. They weren't just trying to get by. There are some intense scenes. There are intense scenes of action. There are some moments where the camera just stays and you are seeing every punch, every kick, every movement. The camera backs off and you can see where the two people fighting are located, and there's a good sense of space and where characters are, where other enemies and people are coming from, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of the kind of the building blocks of what makes a good John Wick fighting scene are there. Like, you could see them and you could feel them, and you could recognize those things right away. So I think that was good. Maybe we don't have like the genius of Keanu Reeves in all of it, but definitely this is someone who understood the assignment enough to know, okay, maybe it can't be on that level, but it at least needs to be able to follow it. It at least needs to be able to complement. And I think that they accomplished that. There is one sequence, and I wonder if we're talking about the same one, that I think was really cool, and it's something I haven't seen done in an action movie, and kind of made me wonder, why hasn't this duel happened before until now? Why did it take all the way to 2025 for somebody to think, what if two people had this type of weapon and were shooting at each other? What would that look like? It's crazy that it took this long for us to get this, but I'm glad we got it because it changed the dynamic of the fighting, but also what it did for the fights visually, I think makes it one of the more memorable fighting sequences in the movie, and maybe even in John Wick, because there's nothing quite like what they did with that scene. But for the most part, I think so. The action, it holds up. It doesn't measure completely up to, but it holds up in a respectable way. I think that the biggest weakness of this movie is the beginning of it. I think it starts, and some of that is just the sake of it didn't really start like the John Wick movies. The other John Wick movies just had interesting beginnings to them and how they were telling the story and everything like that. This beginning, while it was fine, while it was done well to where you understood the characters and everything like that, and it's building kind of this other world, this other part of the John Wick world that we don't know, some of those things it does well, but it also did feel like it started kind of by the numbers-ish of a revenge tale. Like, you get the basic events that happen. They lay that down. Now we're okay. Now we're training and building ourselves. Now we're kind of at the Continental. Some of the things that it does at the beginning feels real, kind of just it's fine, but that's all it is. Nothing really extraordinary about how this film starts.
Yeah.
it is kind of like that ballerina spinning around, trying to get the right rhythm, trying to do the right spin. But once this movie finds its footing, and once it actually gets going with the action and what's happening and what Eve is trying to do, I think it really excels. And it's just action after action after action after action. And it almost just doesn't let up with what it's doing with its action sequences and everything like that, and John Wick and all of the other characters that involve. So it doesn't start very strong, but it ends strong, in my opinion. Once it finds its footing, and then it really does end strong with what it's doing with the action and the storytelling. So overall, I feel, and maybe this isn't too spoilery, but I guess my feelings could kind of be summed up with the way that John Wick felt about the Eve character. Not as good, can't beat him, but in the end, earned his respect.
Respectable, yeah. That's
I think
fair.
that is practically exactly what I can say about this movie.
I like that.
I feel the same way that John Wick felt about the main character.
I agree. Yeah, that's a great way to say that too. That's dead on, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did look it up.
It really is. I don't think I can say it better than that. So yeah, I guess that's it for me on this part. Recommendations and scores?
Yeah, really quick though, I did look up, and I forgot that the director is the one who was like super stunt guy in a bunch of movies, of the other John Wick movies.
Okay.
I forgot about that. Chris Stahelski, I think is his name. But I forgot that he directed all of those John Wick movies, but was previously just a stunt person. So he knew all of the way to do the action and things like that. And he didn't direct this one, but he was one of the producers on it. So I could see elements of like why the action scenes are put together well, but why it's also not like that same level of like visceral, brutal John Wick craziness in the action as much. So yeah, I think that's why. But yes, that's all I have for this. Yeah, I guess recommendations and scores, right?
Yeah.
Recommendations and score.
I guess it's me. So yeah, I think that this is definitely good enough to recommend. There's nothing about this to avoid. So if you were wondering, if you're a John Wick fan and you're wondering if this was just, you're hoping, oh God, please don't be ass. Well, you'll be happy to know it's not. It's actually a decent follow-up, a decent compliment to those other John Wick films without being offensive. And even more fun, you do get a little John Wick in this. So if you had been missing him since John Wick 4, which was just amazing, it was fun to see him here, and it was fun to see him get to do some stuff and interact with this character. And Ana de Armas carries this, and the other supporting actors are good. And ultimately, you could tell that it felt like they were really trying to make something that could stand in the room with those other movies, not just something to make money and we don't really care and we're not going to try to really pay homage and respect what came before. They showed a lot of respect in this movie, so I feel like I can give it back. So yeah, go see it. Now, that being said, it does have some flaws. Maybe I wouldn't say this is a must watch. I'm not going to say run to the theater and see it. If you walk to the theater to see it, it's okay. If you wait for streaming, that's probably okay too. So yeah, I think that that's the best place for me to leave it. So with that being said, I'll give it, man, that beginning, I just wish we had been a little more creative with how this started. So I'll go ahead and just give it 75. Bow and arrows to the face. when that really wasn't necessary to kill that guy out of 100.
Yeah. I like the way you put that too. Like, it's not offensive to the John Wick franchise. That is a really good way to put what this movie is. I'm similar on how I feel about this that I was with the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, where I'm like, is it the best John Wick world film? It is not. Is it a good action film? Yes, it is. So I think I'll say the same thing about this movie. Like, it still has really good action. It's really enjoyable. It's still very entertaining. Just it's hard not to compare them. It is its own thing while also not being its own thing. So just keep that in mind. But I do recommend it. I think it's a fun watch, especially if you're super into action movies. This is going to be right up your alley if you liked the John Wick movies and you're just kind of wanting a refresher or something similar to that that's not quite that. This will probably do that for you. I do agree. I didn't think about that with like the way this movie starts, and I have an idea of how it maybe could have started better, but I agree. It wasn't the strongest opening, but I do like that, we get what we need to understand her motivation fairly quickly on, but agreed. It's a very standard way to sort of open that type of storyline or this type of movie. So yeah, if we could have maybe switched that up a little bit, that would have been nice. I think that while I do think that Ana de Armas did a really good job, she did a lot of face acting in this, which was good. And there's not like a whole lot of dialogue. There's enough dialogue, but I think that some of the moments, I think that the like response reaction piece of some of it could have been done better. Like sometimes I feel like something's said and then there's just a real quick reaction that you're like, are we warranting this? Or maybe just not even words being said, but like actions being taken that you're like, okay, it doesn't work as well as I think they want it to. It kind of speaks to one of the action scenes that we'll talk about in the next section. But again, I mean, it's not like the John Wick movies are like deeply profound dialogue either or moments. It's just, what it is and you love it for that. So you kind of have to go into this one with sort of that same mentality. As far as knowing what this is, it's an action movie. Like that's at its core. All you really care about is the action. You could mute it, know nothing else about it, and still be like, that was some cool action. And that's fine. Some people, that's all they want. So yeah, I do recommend it. I think it is a good action film. I think it's a worthy entry into the universe of John Wick. But yeah, it's not without its flaws, but the flaws aren't glaring you in the face enough for you to be taken out of enjoying this movie, at least for me. So I'm actually kind of right in your same boat. I'm going to give it 75 broken arms out of 100 because she did that a lot in this movie.
Yeah, she definitely knew how to break arms.
Right. It's always the same arm too, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like it was always that right arm. But yeah.
All right. So that'll be easy. Our official CineScore for this is 75.
Yes.
Easy enough. Didn't even have to take the calculator out, Sterling.
Which oddly
How about
matches
them apples.
Right? It oddly matches the Rotten Tomato score as well. Which was not on purpose. It's just kind of where I landed with it. So
yeah. I guess we are landed with the critics on that one.
Yeah.
Exactly. With the critics on that one. So very cool. All right. I guess it is spoiler time.
Spoilers.
All right. I went first, right? Did you want me to start spoilers or you?
This is probably going to be more of like a back and forth section anyway. So
yeah. It always is like that when it's just two of us.
Yeah. Like one thing, because you had mentioned, and I do think we're talking about different scenes, but I wanted to like have you talk about this, the thing you were talking about that hasn't been done before. Cause I know what you're talking about. It was just a different scene that I was talking about. But when you said that, I was like, you know what? It was good. That was a good, awesome thing they did in this movie. So if you want to go ahead and start with that, and then we could talk about that.
Cool. So what I was getting at was the sort of flamethrower duel that Eve winds up having with one of the main henchmen. And like in these John Wick movies, there's always like that rival assassin, that rival kind of person that is real skilled. They survive throughout the movie. And it's kind of that one tough assassin that, you know, we're used to John Wick or rival that John Wick has to get through in order to get to the final conflict and resolution. Well, in this movie, it was this assassin guy, and man, they were fighting each other with flamethrowers. And
yeah.
I don't think I've really ever seen that before. Like you typically, it's the hero is grabbing the flamethrower, or the hero is running from someone who has it. And you can create all kinds of dangerous scenarios like that. But I don't think I've seen a flamethrower duel before. So
yeah,
that's new. That was interesting. And what was cool about it, though, is just all of the scenarios it created for them, as far as like you have to try to keep your distance from the person, because obviously you don't want to go up in flames, so to speak. So it created these fun scenarios where they're running down hallways or running down streets and ducking in alleys or jumping into windows, trying to avoid these flame streams and shooting each other back and forth, and having to use the strategy of as soon as your flame stops, getting the hell out of there before the other person can get to you. And there were even times where other people got burned because they were in the way of the flames. There were times where characters have to duck and run behind things to avoid the flames. So it was very interesting, just the back and forth of that flamethrower fight. I thought that was really cool, and it was very interesting, and it created a lot of amazing visuals, a lot of amazing camera shots of people ducking and dodging out of the way of fire, or running down a hallway and just barely making it to the end as the flame stream is coming towards them. It made for a lot of interesting things. And even though it wasn't, your punching and kicking wasn't really there, though they did some of that. There was a neat point where like they crossed flamethrowers and flame streams were flying in the air as they're kind of jockeying for position with these flamethrowers. To me, that was the most interesting and kind of visually kind of amazing scene in this. I think that's where they got the most creative. And that was the thing that kind of felt interesting and new about the fight choreography.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, also, first of all, like the shot of her when they see her for the first time, it's just kind of like in the shadow a little bit. But then you see the flame come on or whatever, and they're just like, oh shit, like we're done.
That was great.
That was a cool moment too. And also the whole thing with like her flame thing going out and her getting that water hose. That was a cool visual too, where it was like the two against each other. That was a really cool thing, because I don't feel like I've seen that before.
I haven't. Yeah, not that badass. That was badass.
Yeah. And she just kept that. Like,
because when she ran out, you're like, oh my gosh, how is she going to turn this thing around? And then you see her getting that, and that shot of the water and the fire coming together like that. That was great. That was just
she kept having to like push forward, because I mean the force of that water was so strong. So she was like pushing her way towards him. And the fact that like the force of that knocked him down too. Like it was actually a good weapon. And I just think that was really pretty creative of them to do that. Yeah, I agree. That was cool. Yeah, because I was like, okay, flamethrower or flame gun, whatever you're called. Like, yeah, we haven't seen that in a John Wick movie, that's for sure. But it was, I mean, and that's one thing though too about the character of Eve, which I guess you could say the same thing about John Wick too, but like, she's very resourceful. Like she's very quick to thinking on her feet of like, what can I use as a weapon that I'm surrounded by right now? And that was, she was like, lucks out a lot where she's like, oh, sweet, a flame gun. But then she's like, cool, I don't have that anymore. Let's go in here where I know there's a hose because you got to have something if something goes up. So just her quick thinking and resourcefulness in those situations is a big part of why she's surviving all of these things. And I'm sure that was a part of her training too, to like really be like, be quick on your feet, think about your surroundings, like use what you can. And that's why some of the things that she does are super brutal, because she's just like, I got to do what I got to do to like defeat them and move on from this. And so, yeah, that was just really creative of her to be like, sweet, okay, let me get this hose right now and just put out the flame, basically. I really liked that about her character. You saw a lot of her just quick thinking about stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point because, I guess one comparison I could make with her and John Wick is that John Wick definitely might be stronger when it comes to hand, but she definitely, her strong suit is weapons for sure.
That's a good point.
For sure. I think that they almost made it a point, that what she, like you said, her ability and her resourcefulness to use her surroundings, but she was just so good with weapons, whether it was a gun, whether it was a knife, whether it was a plate, whether it was a water hose, whether it was Eve is the one you don't want picking up something. Like, you'd rather fight her with fists and you're probably still not going to win, but you definitely don't want her picking up something. Because when she picked up something, you got fucked up. Like, that was pretty much it. And one thing I did love about it, well, that's probably smart too, on the writer and the director's part, because if you've got an actress that may not have those hand-to-hand skills and necessarily be able to do the hand-to-hand stunts at the extent that Keanu Reeves could do them, go the other way. Okay, we'll do some of the hand-to-hand stuff, but what can we do with the weapons? How can we make that more effective, and the use of surroundings and the use of things as a weapon? Maybe we go that way instead of trying to make her Keanu Reeves. Let's go the other way and show a different strength. So maybe that was smart.
No, that's true. And I think like that's also, it just reminded me too of something that I really enjoyed that they did in this was when they do sort of that like montage of her training and her getting better and her struggling, but also, growing, things like that. I thought was really cool too, because part of me's like, I bet she really did put that much work into doing this role too. Cause you got to be like, really, you got to do that combat and you got to really train for how to do some of these things. You know what I mean? So it reminded me of that. And I liked that. And I think it's something that we've mentioned in the John Wick movies where, John Wick still gets beat up. Like he still takes some hits. And that's kind of what you love about it. Cause you're like, he's not a superhero that's untouchable. He's just, okay, cool. I got hit. I'm still going to win. Like, and I feel like this is similar with the character of Eve, because I mean, she was, especially in that first fight we see with her, like when she's on her first mission or whatever, she is being destroyed for most of that fight. But she still is getting up. She's scrappy, she's getting up. She's like, all right, I'm going to keep going, and then you see like, a little bit of time lapse where she gets better and she gets stronger with what she's doing. And it was cool to see that progression. I do like that we showed that in this movie for that, because, you know, like you're watching her make this choice to join the ballerinas and things like that. And you want to know, okay, so what is this training process like for them? Kind of like what you said earlier. And I also love that in part of like her training that she did, she runs into John Wick during, was it the second movie that was supposed to be from? Or the third?
Either the second or the third. Actually, they said it takes place during the third film.
Yes. Okay, got it.
So I want to say that was the third.
Yeah. And I really liked that connection that they made and all of that. Like that was really good. And like, you know, and I know I was, before I mentioned like my favorite action sequence, one that didn't really set with me well, like just I wasn't buying it. It was that first one, like on her first mission, like when they're at the club, because here's the thing, like when John Wick goes into a club, he's got all this confidence, all this aura, all this energy of like, I'm just me, man, and I'm here to do what I got to do. And she had that energy about her, but, and to be fair, this was her first like assignment, so she's not going to be quite on that level of when we see John Wick doing it. But I just feel like she didn't come off as like this badass in quite the way that he did. She was a badass, don't get me wrong, but like it didn't hit the same when you see her in that first like club scene when she's like, all right, I'm here to mess everyone up. Like it didn't hit the same, but maybe that was on purpose. But for me, it just didn't quite land. And I think part of that too was, that's kind of what I was alluding to with the whole like things happening where it's not warranting the response you're getting, because there was like when she's face to face with like the guy that she was supposed to be like targeting. I mean, she sees him, I think, like grabbing the woman that she's trying to protect and all this stuff. And she just comes in and she's like, hey, fight mode. And you're just like, what is this build up to this moment? Like, it was super weird to me. Like, it didn't gel for some reason. You know, she's just like, hey. And then she's just like, let's fight now. And it just, I don't know. It wasn't like this smooth, like charismatic moment that you wanted it to be before she's about to mess him up. And it just played as awkward more than it was just like, oh, this is just her first mission, so give her time to adjust. It played more awkward because of how it was done. But even like the things that she's saying, like she doesn't know these people. She's just like, hey, like, don't pick on her type of vibe about it. And it was something weird about that setup for it that wasn't my favorite. But, you know, but you do see that resourcefulness. I get what you're talking about,
because like there were a couple of things weird about that scene. Like, and I don't know if that was to show her inexperience and to show that, look, she's not being as smart as she could be about this. But whether that was the aim or not, I'm not saying it was or wasn't, but even if that was the aim, it just was a bit clunky in execution, I thought, because like typically when we go to a location in John Wick, we establish the location where you're seeing people dancing and you're seeing all this crazy stuff. Then we're going to go into rooms and see what the henchmen are doing. And they're in the hot tub and all this kind of stuff. And guys are yelling at each other and there's women everywhere and there's guns everywhere. And they're like, yeah. Then you go into this hallway and this other room, and this is where John Wick is trying to get. So they establish kind of, okay, he's going to have to go through all of this to get there. And then, you know, John Wick casually walks in and nothing is happening. You know, they kind of build to that first moment of action. Here, you're right. There was none of that. We were just kind of there. We get the briefing and then she's there and then she just walks up and shit starts. And what was also weird about that, though, was that these guys are attacking her and everybody seemed to be attacking her with hands and she's shooting everybody. So it was weird that nobody was shooting at her. And I don't know if that's because, like, unless I missed something and weapons weren't allowed in there and she snuck in and had them and nobody didn't or anything. But that to me was a bit strange. Like, she's taking these people down and just capping them and shooting them. Like, she started the gunplay right away. And that was weird to me. I think maybe if it was more fist fighting and punching and kicking before we got right to the guns.
Yeah.
It just felt weird that she's just shooting at everybody and nobody, I mean, literally none of them were shooting back at her. I mean, one guy was even attacking her with like a little pickaxe and all this other stuff, like, or that little hatchet he had.
And you know, like, they have guns. They always have guns.
Yeah, you know? Like, where were they? It was just weird that all that happened in that club and only she was shooting. Then they go outside, and I think there was some gunplay with the henchman there, but that was weird.
Also, did they even establish who she was? Like, she was new to this, right? So do they even know who she is? Like, she just goes up, she's like, hey, I'm ready to fight. Were they like, who even are you? I don't remember if they even asked that question or if they cared, but I mean, and that's what's different about it. Like with John Wick, they're like, oh, it's John Wick. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and I even think about like that scene with Common, you know, when they're in the club and he's like, you working? He's like, yep. Are you? And he's like, yep. And like, you just know, there's just like the way they do it. You're like, you understand what they're saying to each other. And then it just goes straight into like, all right, well, we're doing our jobs, guns. And that works better. You know what I mean? And this, yeah, it was clunky. That's a good word for it. I mean, she went up in there, she looked fly as hell, but it was like you just don't, like, she just felt very out of place because she hasn't established that relationship with her audience yet either, where you feel like she's got this. And you have to start somewhere, yes, but it was the way that the scene played out was a little bit off for me. But and then, yeah, it was also like, why did she not kill him? She had him right there, and then she just put the thing in the knife in the thing next to him. Like, was she not actually supposed to kill him? Or, because I just feel like if that's your mission, like, why didn't you just right then get him? You know? I don't know.
Yeah.
That was weird to me. But also, you reminded me of something, too. When she's about to go on this first mission, and she's talking to the one lady that's getting her all set up, like, they tell her that she's got rubber bullets in this gun. Why did they do that? Why did they give her rubber bullets if this is like her first assignment out, like, of training? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Which was even more weird why she's shooting rubber bullets in this club. I guess it's because, like, at least it's some kind of weapon or some way to defend herself. But I don't understand why out on a real mission they didn't give her real bullets. So I didn't know if maybe you caught something with that I didn't. If that was just supposed to be like, you know, maybe like don't only use your gun, try to find other ways, or if it was like you're not quite there yet to use a gun like this. But if that's the case, just say that. Like, all they said was rubber bullets. And she's like, yeah, is that a problem? But like, I just don't know why they did rubber bullets.
Man, maybe I missed something, because I know that they were using the rubber bullets and everything during those training missions and stuff like that. I know they were using them during the training missions, but I don't remember. For some reason, I am not remembering that she had rubber bullets for that first assignment. I mean, unless it's just something that they do on the first assignment. Like, if you're really ready for this, you will do it under these handicapped conditions, I guess, if she's got rubber bullets. But no, I cannot remember that for the life of me. I must have missed that.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe I'm like misremembering where it's set up, but it was in like the moment with not Angelica Houston, but the other lady that was kind of mentoring her, helping her, all this stuff. The fighting coordinator, basically, for the ballerinas. She's getting her set up for everything and telling her, you know, I don't know if she's telling her like where to go, but she was just basically getting her set up for that first assignment. And yeah, she said rubber bullets. So I just thought it was weird. But maybe I misremembered where they did that, but I just remember distinctly. I watched it a few days ago, like over the weekend, but I just distinctly remember being like in the middle of that happening, like, why rubber bullets? Like, what for? You know? So it was just very weird. And I remember it happened right before that awkward scene, because I was just like, okay, so she's shooting the gun, like she's going to hit people, but it's rubber bullets. So what's it going to do? Yeah, you know, so it was just, I didn't get it. I didn't know why they did that. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it just, and that was one thing too, I was going to say, is we were talking about how we didn't really care for the opening, right? How this movie opened up. One thing I did really like that they did is after she's done her first assignment, all these things, and they cut to that 2 months later, and you see she's got like that little thing in her shoulder, the blade like broke off in her. And then you kind of see as she's going through just the carnage, just the people that were all dead because of what she just did in there. That actually would have been a cool way to open the movie. And then we kind of flash back a little bit to her training and all that stuff. And then we catch up to that point. Because I even like getting out to the car, like she's like grabbing all the weapons, make sure she has them all. Like, I think that something like that would have been a better way to maybe open the movie. But the reason I liked that scene is because it was just it was a cool and unique way to show like, oh, she's definitely gotten better in these 2 months of being out here doing this. And, you know, you don't need to see all the things she did to understand the impact of like, oh yeah, she just dominated this room of people. And I thought it was a cool reveal. I thought that was a really like cool way to do that. So maybe if they had done something like that at the beginning, you know what I mean? Like it would have maybe been a more creative way to open it or something like that, you know?
No, I get what you're saying with some of that. And like, I guess, like, I mean, I didn't hate everything about the beginning. Like, there were some things that were okay. Like the person who was playing young Eve, the little girl did well. The father did well, and you got.
He was actually a very good actor. Like I think he did a really good job. The father.
Yeah, he was a good actor, and you got the sense that they cared about each other and everything like that. So I think all of that was good. I guess what I was more or less talking about though it's just that this kind of scenario where you've got the adult and the child and he gets trapped and please don't hurt the child. So I got to sacrifice myself to save the child. And then telling the child, you know, I'm sorry, but you're the main character. This is all up to you now. You know, that kind of sequence of events just seems very, very familiar. You know, that just seems very, very familiar. You know, oh, my father died now, and somebody has the distinct mark. So now I'm going to find out who did this to my dad and take revenge. You know, that whole thing just felt very formulaic. Now, it was done well. It was acted well. Nothing about it is offensive, but you just wish maybe we wouldn't have had such a formulaic beginning.
Right.
That just felt so familiar. And like when you think about the other John Wick movies, they all started interesting. Like he's, you know, like in the first movie, his dog gets killed. Or actually, no, I think about when it started and he's just in his car looking at his cell phone, looking at memories of his wife, and he's just crying. And
yeah, I think there were like flashbacks maybe of like his wife, the memories of his wife. I think that was the opening. It's been a minute.
Yeah, that's right. It started with, memories of his wife. And then he's there looking at his phone and reflecting on that and stuff and emotional about it. And then all that happens with the happenstance at the gas station and the guys and all of that stuff. And they saw his car and started messing with it. Like, even though it was a revenge tale, it started in just some very interesting ways. And in the second movie, he's on the run. Like he's literally on the run.
Yeah, that's how it
fighting
opens.
assassins whilst on the run. You know, these movies just started really interesting. And then the third movie, you know, he's still on the run and it's raining and he's ducking and dodging and then fighting somebody in a library and all this kind of stuff and finding a guy and getting patched up by some underground doctor person that knew him. Like all of the beginnings, just they didn't quite start in a cookie cutter way. And this just felt a little more cookie cutter than any of the other movies we got before. But the scene, but don't get me wrong. Yes, it's familiar, but the scene wasn't bad. The child actor and the guy and the father did well. That whole scenario that was set up with the chancellor where he's like, okay, you know, now I'm going to tell you the truth. There were some things I liked about it, like when she's a little girl sitting there and he's like, well, I'm just going to tell you the truth about everything. This is what happened. And now you can make a choice. Do you want to do this or do that? So all of that was pretty cool. And the origins and her dancing and all of that stuff. Nothing was offensive about this, but also it was super, super, super straightforward with no wrinkles or nothing like that to really give it that John Wick style. You know, normally we're used to seeing kind of some interesting things happening, or we're playing with the dialogue, or, you know, like I remember in that first movie when a guy would scream and the letters would come up, or a guy would say something and the letters would come up. But if he was mad, they would turn red. You know, like they were doing interesting things in those movies and this one, it felt like the priority was, let's get through all this story and development and let's establish this character so that then we can get to the fun stuff. And I mean, that's not the worst formula. It's not the worst path to success, but by merit of what this movie is, you after you get the whole movie, you look back at that first part and go, that just felt so ordinary. And, you know, we're just used to these John Wick movies being a little more extraordinary than that.
No, that's totally fair. Yeah. Quick side note. Did you ever watch Umbrella Academy?
I didn't.
Okay. I only had seen like a handful of the episodes, but apparently her father, he's like one of the main characters in that. I was trying to figure out like why he looked familiar, but I've seen him like on the posters and stuff. But anyway, that's totally fair. Like, and I think that is the unfortunate thing about being in a universe of movies that are all so good. It's like they set that bar so high, even like their openings and how they do that. You're like, oh, you're right into it, but it works. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I agree. We didn't need to set it back and do this the way we did it. But I mean, even if it could have been like, just to kind of play off the idea I said, you know, that moment when she's like, it's like the 2 months later and she's looking in the mirror and she's getting a thing out of her shoulder. What if it opens with her like staring in that mirror and you're seeing the flashbacks of what happened to her father? And then it goes into like, let's go through the room of people she just destroyed. Like that would have played well, you know, because that would have been a creative opening. And then you kind of get to go back a little bit to see her training process and all that and go from there. But yeah, I agree. There was other ways that they could have gone about doing that to get you more hooked in. And you know what I mean? Like just immediately enthralled with it. So, but I mean, if the beginning of the movie is the worst part, it's not a bad deal. You know what I mean? It's just preferences, but I am right there with you on that. And yeah, after we get past that first fight, which again, I feel like it has to have supposed to have been played as, because it was her first like real assignment. It was not going as smoothly as they wanted, but it just played more like a clunky scene. Like it just, unfortunately, it just didn't gel. the way that I think they wanted it to gel. So that was, I mean, and yeah, to that, my favorite scene or action scene, it was actually, was it a pub they were in when she went in there and like everybody cleared out and then like she's fighting with the remaining people there? Yeah. That for me was the best scene because I think it was really creative. Like that's that creative level that you want in these movies, because she's going through like all, like she's throwing plates and she's like doing all this stuff, and she's
cool.
Yeah. She's like literally using everything she can think of to just destroy these people. And, you know, and so she gets like at one point, was it the freezer or maybe just another room where she gets in, she's like pulls him and then hides behind the thing so that she doesn't explode. Like just the way that whole sequence is coordinated is super good, because it was creative and you're like, yes, this is cool. This is really cool. And like even the build up to that was good, where it's like she goes in there, you know, and then everybody slowly starts clearing out. And then the one guy comes in and it's just the two of them. And then she's got to fight this chef or whoever it was that was running the place. But then I also really liked that, which you should expect it from this, all of the patrons that were actually just out for her too, and just destroying all of them along the way. And I'm like, yes, this is what we need from this type of movie for sure.
Yeah. And now that you say it, that was a well done scene, because that fight scene that you're talking about, because it did have a lot of moving parts, and we're upstairs, we're downstairs, we're throwing plates at each other. One of them is in the freezer, and then she's fighting these other ones. And then finally that woman got out, burst out of the freezer, but right at the time that guy was trying to attack Eve. So she knocked that guy out just coming out of the freezer. And then the whole back and forth with the gun falling. And that was cool too, when the gun gets hidden under the plates and they're both uncovering plates looking for that gun. You know, they're hitting each other, but, you know, Eve is like, where the heck is that gun? So, yeah, that was a neat scene. And, yeah, that grenade, when she jumped behind that iron piece or that piece of freezer door or whatever that was.
I thought it was a table, but yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, when she jumped behind that as the grenade went off and it blew up and she's behind it safe, and you just see the blood streaming down from the little door or whatever. Like, that was really cool too. Like, there were definitely some cooler scenes, and it always seemed like it got better when they thought more about what is she picking up? What is she going to use? Like, but you get to see her use plenty of stuff. Plates, a sword, obviously the guns, but yeah.
Even in that scene we're talking about, like when she's basically going, like using the door as like, I'm blocking this way, and then she's got to go out and block it the other way, like to just not get killed or exploded. It was fun. It was a fun, really cool scene. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I think also something that I will say I didn't see coming that worked well in this movie is I did not see it coming that one lady was her sister. I probably should have seen that, maybe. But yeah, I didn't see that coming. So I appreciated that. That was an element in the story that it's like, they didn't just completely try to take a John Wick thing and like repackage it fully with that. Like what we've seen with those before is like, no, those are just his people. They have the one purpose and they follow them. They make sure they get killed. They try to go out for them, assassinate. But this was more, it was more nuanced than that. It was more fleshed out than that. It actually was like like she's coming after me because of killing her dad. Who was your dad? And just her not knowing and hearing later that she was also lied to about what happened when they got separated, that she was told that her whole family died. So that was a cool plot point in the story, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of those revelations, and see, that's all in that second half. Cause like when we got out of kind of what we were doing at the beginning, and she's on the mission really hits the ground running and just never lets up. And that revelation about them being sisters, that was cool. The only thing that I wish that we could have got just a little bit more of them maybe getting to like be sisters and maybe fight a little bit or do some sort of team stuff or something like that.
I was going to say that too, like more of a fight scene between them would have been cool to see.
Yes, for sure. That was the only thing missing from that. But still, that was crazy when all those grenades got thrown in there and, you know, she happened to survive, but not her sister, and all the revelations with that. So still very cool. But yeah, that might have been the only thing I would have wanted. I just wanted to see the sisters backing each other up for a second there.
Yep.
You know, I thought some of those men were going to come in there and just get get their sister asses handed to them. You know what I mean? I thought they were going to beat up a bunch of those guys before we moved on to anything else. But no, it was still cool. A good moment, a meaningful moment for that character. And also just that whole thing about they thought that they could save you, but not me. And I had already ended a life, but you hadn't yet. And that's why you were, you know, all of that stuff about that they were doing with fate versus choice and like the power to make your own choices. Like that was a big theme in this. So I thought they played on those things well. Like you said, the meeting of the sister was well executed. And then I thought the meeting with John Wick was well executed.
Yeah.
Like at first, that first run-in that they have, that was cool. Now you know the characters know each other. They've interacted before. But all of that was cool. And again, a good homage to John Wick because, you know, they're calling him the Baba Yaga and the boogeyman and all that stuff. And it was very boogeyman-ish how he showed up. Like that train coming and him sort of fading in and he's just slowly like
doing
walking
his thing.
And you're seeing his silhouette in the shadows. And it almost was like the boogeyman approaching. It almost kind of had that feel to it, you know?
Yeah.
It really did. So I love the way they set that up. And like one thing you said about Eve, and the way Ana de Armas portrayed her is that, and one commonality with John Wick is that sheer force of will, just the will to keep going, to not give up, to the will to complete the objective. And I think that was definitely something that you could say was comparable to John Wick, just that unbelievable force of will. And I think that's why ultimately John Wick respected her, because she did have that kind of pure source of will. And I mean, this woman, and like you, and also what you said about her resourcefulness and everything, the physicality really jumped up later in the film. And I mean, like you said, this woman is getting thrown around. She's hanging onto this guy's arm and being driven into tables and driven into glass and everything like that. And it all comes back to kind of something that one of the trainers said to her at the beginning about how she was like, I can't win this fight because this guy is too strong. And I love that little dialogue they had where the trainer was like, well, they're always going to be stronger than you. You're always going to be at a physical disadvantage. So how do you play with the rules? Change the rules. Make this a fight that you can win. Pick something up. Bite if you have to. But like change the parameters of the rules. If it, you know, and that's how you can survive. And I thought that was super interesting because like, and in a lot of ways you can see the truth in that. Like, yes, if it's a man versus this woman and we've got the same training and it's hand to hand, yes, maybe because of physicality, you could beat that woman. But if the woman then picks up something or goes to a place that's tight where she's more nimble and can fit through areas than you can, or whatever the case may be, it makes the playing field level. So I like how, and I think they did apply that a lot in her fighting. Like in every scenario, she's trying to pick up something or find something to even things out. So I think that they really did a good job of keeping that intact.
Yeah.
Especially at the end there. And like we kind of said earlier in the non-spoilers, when she fought John Wick, obviously John Wick is better. He's been doing this longer. She's still kind of a rookie in this regard, but even still respected that force of will. And you could tell that she kind of grew on him. So all of that was great how that went along. And then when that was done, it wasn't like John Wick walked in, said a cameo, and left. He got a fight scene in this.
Yeah.
So that was cool. That was like a pleasant surprise that I didn't know I was going to get.
Yeah.
And, I thought maybe there would be a Ballerina Baba Yaga team up, but maybe they didn't want them like on screen fighting back to back or anything like that, because maybe then it becomes his movie to people and it needed to be her movie. So I like how he was in it. He got a little fight scene. He got to fight with her, but then they kind of eased him in the background. He was at the sniper rifle waiting for that. Yeah. And they sort of kept him out of the action so it could still be her thing. And I think that was a smart decision too.
Yeah. You could just tell that he didn't actually want to do that. Like, he did not want to take her out. He did not want to be hunting her. He was just like, you could tell he was just like, no, I don't want to be doing this, and then I think it is because of what you're saying. Like, she was growing on him. And I feel like it was also that like kinship of, he understands where she's coming from, and like she's operating out of a place of grief and revenge, and he knows that all too well, and I think it was that like maybe he saw a little bit of himself in her, and that's why he was like, I don't want to do this because I get it, and I liked that sort of like mirror type of thing, because they even said it earlier, like early on in the movie, that she's fighting and doing this out of a place of pain, and that's what's driving her. And even with her fighting style, like, it's chaotic because she is like, you feel like she's running on that like pain emotion of like, it's the anger is just forcing her, because she's just, it's chaotic fighting. It's good and it's very skilled, but she's just like, grab all the weapons and throw things and do all whatever. Like it, and I feel like that's on purpose, because that's part of her character. That's how she like knows to, change the rules, right? To make it to where it fits with what she can do best. But I like that they pointed out that it was like, you're doing this out of a deep place, and that's why we think you're good at this. This is why we think why we wanted you, basically. And I feel like that's similar to John Wick's journey in some of these movies of like, he's operating from that place of pain and revenge, and like, I don't care what I have to do or who's telling me I can't do it. I'm still doing what I need to do. And that's exactly what she did, and it would have been cool to see a team up of them, and not really a team up, but he did help her out, shot the one person. But I just like that whole thing of at the end too, when he's like, it's done because he's dead, not because she's dead, kind of thing. Like, that was cool. That was a really cool moment. And like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I wish they would have maybe gone a little bit more into why the what is the name of the group? Is it Ruskarama? Something like that.
The Ruska, yeah.
Why they were so afraid to go up against these other guys. Like there was just the war that he threatened, right? And like she was like, we don't want a war with you. We will do whatever we can to back off. We'll kill her for going rogue. I don't feel like they touched on it that much. Like you get enough to understand, like, yeah, you don't mess with these people and you don't start a fight with this side. But it would have been interesting to get a little bit more background on specifically why that was, unless they said that, but I don't think they did. They just said like, you don't mess with them and don't ask why kind of thing,
Yeah. And you were right. Ruscaroma, you were on top of that.
Okay.
That is what they're called. And like, yeah, that is something that I guess you could argue is missing from this, because you don't really know about them other than they are just kind of this group and they sort of have this deal with the assassins who Eve is with, and certain lines aren't crossed and different things like that. And they've got some sort of agreement. And the fact that, Angelica Houston or the director were worried about the prospect of going to war with these people must mean these guys are pretty good. So It's making me go mad. Like, what?
What's the lore?
Why is if for these people and these people in the Continental to be afraid of this outcome?
Right.
How powerful are these people? How high does it actually go? But I think you're right. We didn't get enough of that side. Nobody ever explained the X on the tattoo. We didn't get to see anybody getting it for the first time, or the X brand or whatever. And even though we know that our faithful John Wick people, the ballerinas and stuff, they go through similar rituals of getting branded and stuff. But like, I don't know. It would have been nice to know a little bit more about them. What is their motivation? What exactly are they trying to do? Is this about, and because then when you get to the end and the guy's like, the chancellor's like, well, the cycle's going to continue. People are always going to get trained. The kids are always going to, but we get that, but we don't know you. What is the goal of you guys? It wasn't clear. And why were so many of them willing to break the rules in the Continental, knowing the consequences, or like willing to do some of those things or risk their lives and stuff like that? And then to know that John Wick is there to still be doing it. So this group felt like the kind of group that knows something that other people don't know. But unfortunately, we just never got that much development into them. It almost was kind of a thing of, they're assassins, they're bad, they're attacking our main character.
Yeah.
What more do we need to explain to you? But I agree, some explanations with that could have helped.
Maybe if they do another movie, which they might. But I did also, real quick, a couple more things I had was, I do also love that Lance Reddick was in this. I didn't realize that he was alive to film some of this. So I'm really, really glad that he was involved with this film. And also, I think that I would have liked to have seen more of Norman Reedus' character. I'm like, you got Daryl Dixon over here. Like, let's give him more. Like I like what they did with him, and I understand his purpose in the story and like why he was kind of out of the story for the time he was. But I'm like, man, if we could have gotten a little bit more action from him, like that would have been really cool, because that was a cool scene too. Like when he's fighting these people and like he rigged the gun to like shoot as soon as they kicked in the door, and just kind of them sort of working together when he realizes he can trust her, and more of a team up of them would have been cool. Like that was a cool part of the movie, I think. And, I just think it would have been cool to see a little bit more of him, aside from at the end when he's just like in the hospital and he's just like, hey, and that was it.
Yeah. And you're totally right about that. Like, I didn't like that either. How they had that sequence, that really good sequence in the Continental with him. And you just felt like there was going to be more. You did. You just felt like it was going to lead up to this big fight, and we're going to have this team up, her and her sister and him, and we're going to do some big super fight. And it sucks that we didn't get that. Like, and John Wick. It's weird that
it's almost like a setup movie in some regards. It feels like a lot of this could be set up for future information on characters or members of this, group of people and everything. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, I did think it was funny that that was it the Chancellor that she just shot him in the head, like as he was talking, like he was there defenseless, really thought he had something there with just trying to talk her down or like get in her head. And she's just like, okay, cool, I'm done with you. She just shoots him there in cold blood, and like nobody else was even around. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, that was pretty hilarious. So yeah, and so as strong as that ending was, yeah, you feel like there might have been potential for an even better one where we get to see all these other characters. But yeah, you're right. Like the father should have totally, and I get the story, Eve felt like she saw herself in that little girl. And in the way that her father didn't want this for her, she helped prevent a little girl from not having to do that. So in a way, it sort of fulfilled her father's wish indirectly. And that's great. And you do feel like there's something beautiful about that. So I get all of that. But yeah, dude, like I just wanted to see maybe those other characters light it up together. So yeah,
definitely.
So it wasn't the worst thing, but it's just one of those things you think about in retrospect and go, oh man, there might have been an opportunity there.
Right. Yeah, no, that was, but overall it was still like, I mean, it's a good action movie. Like that's really, it is like, it is just, it's a fun, entertaining watch.
Yeah. And it ended in the spirit of John Wick fashion. I like how she went to the ballerina performance and was watching her friend.
That was cool.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. She still cares about her friend, even though she's ducking in the shadows. And then when her bounty went up, she got out of there and it's doing that music and just, it ended in a very cool way.
And see, that
just
was the vibe that I wish that she would, like that aura of confidence that she has in that final scene. You know what I mean? Like that's what you wanted from her from that beginning scene, which again, I get why it wasn't the same because that was her first mission, but that, just seeing, I guess, her evolve in that way too was a cool thing in this movie. Just don't make your fight scene that awkward because it just didn't play well. But yeah, her at the end of this movie, she's just like, all right, I'm out of here. She just kind of living in the shadows, kind of like how John Wick was, where it's like, I'm going to do things and kind of hide in plain sight. And then when it gets real crazy, I'm going to dip out. And, it's going to be similar to the John Wick thing. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I think I am good. Anything else on John Wick, on Ballerina?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm curious how well this movie will do and if we will get another movie out of this, like if they'll do a sequel or anything like that, because like, I don't know. I feel like the fact that John Wick was actually in this movie more than you think he's going to be in it, that really was something that helped this movie, like just how good it was, because any scene that he was in was so good in this movie. But I'm curious if that's going to drive enough to do another movie, so I guess we'll see how these numbers do. Cause I mean, everybody, honestly, like everyone loved those movies. So you're just like, if it's anything like that, I'm going to go see this one too. So maybe it will bring out a bunch of people and get those numbers up there on that list. But I guess we'll see. Like if they do a sequel, I'll be fine with it. I don't think I'll be burned out on the John Wickness of it all. But Yeah, I know that there was a couple of other things they had in the works though to do. Like, wasn't Donnie Yen supposed to get like a prequel or something or a spinoff?
Yeah, I remember Sterling saying something about that. I wonder if that fell through or because I haven't heard a lot.
Super into that story. That would be. He was a fantastic character.
That character was great.
Yeah, so I would be all in for a spinoff of him or whatever. Because man, that was a character. That was a character.
Yes. For sure.
That's it for me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think. Do I have anything else? Got that nagging feeling like I'm forgetting something, but I don't think. No, I think I pretty much hit what I wanted. So I guess we are done. So that is going to wrap it up for this edition of Cinema Slayers. Don't forget that we are pro slut, pro Sydney, pro naked, pro steak fingers. Is that all of them?
I think that's it.
Yeah,
good job.
I think
man.
I hit them all. Oh man, I'm starting to remember it. All this repetition, I'm starting to remember it. So yeah, those are all the pros that we are pro of. Also, don't forget to tell your friends and family, tell your family and friends, and tell those dear sweet mothers because dear sweet mothers love.
I mean, John Wick, gotta be.
Of course. And I would have also accepted arms breaking. Moms love broken arms.
And yeah, something, because there was a lot of that in this movie. So much of that. Also, you are Knuff. Don't forget that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I can't forget that.
And justice for the caterers and the stunt people.
Oh, how could I forget the justices? Yes, justices for the caterers.
Justice for Todd.
Stunt people and justice for Todd. We're still waiting on another Kong Godzilla movie to redeem him. We finally got justice for Chris. And we finally are going to get some justice for the stunt people when they get rewarded. So hopefully that all checks out.
And you know what? Just at least for this episode, justice for Sinners movie. Hopefully we get justice on that for the
because
Oscars.
We really want to see it get its flowers. So we're going to start it now. Because if it gets screwed, just remember, you heard it here first at Cinema Slayers. We were the first people advocating like, it better not. It better get all the recognition. Just all of it.
I mean, we are the reason solely that this movie is doing well. It is only because of us, for sure.
Yes, for sure. We saw it that many times to get it to $377 million. We did it.
Exactly. Our influence reaches everywhere. We told fans
about it and they went, oh, I'm going to go see it because Cinema Slayers said it's great.
And they know what's best.
Yeah. And not to just cut off this movie's pretty good too.
Yeah, this movie is good.
As you can see, we had a lot of good things to say about it. I thought this was a very good balanced discussion about this.
Yeah, it's solid.
Yeah, super solid. And to end it in a solid note, as Sterling says at the end of every podcast, according to me, Moon Knight is a Best Picture winner.
So begrudgingly.
I'll never live that mistake down.
Somebody will listen to me.
And it's even worse when it's not here because then I have to say it for myself.
All right. Are you ready?
In order to keep the tradition going.
Cinema Slayers.
So Sterling, you can go to hell, man, for making me continue your tradition when you're not here. What is
it's like his own form of punishment for you.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's why he went to Memphis. That's the real reason. He's not working. He's just enjoying Whataburger and making me say this.
Yeah. It's like, suckers. Yeah. It's really vacation for him, you know. It's all the best things in the world for him.
Of course.
All right.
Driving all that way just to pretend to work.
Basically, yeah. So we got your number. It's all right, Sterling. We get it.
Yep. Sterling, we know what's up. And with that, we're out.